It is. Okay, guys, we are going to get going. Guys, we're going to get going. Ready? All righty. Thank you guys for coming tonight to our third annual Why We Play event. First years that haven't gone through this yet, we invite seniors to come up and speak about their experience of and kind of their journey in sport and why they play their sport. We started this 3 years ago. Jeanne Hess from Kalamazoo College, the volleyball coach there, she had started this program with Kalamazoo College, basically wanting to offer a forum to their senior, or really just to their student athletes at the D3 level, giving them the opportunity to share their story in sport. And we found them to be just really powerful messages. And when she shared this experience with us, we decided to do it here as well. And it has quickly become probably my favorite event. So before I call our first speaker up, make sure that your cell phones are silenced. So out of courtesy for our speakers, everybody's got a program. We're going to go in that order. And I would like to invite Taylor up to. Thank you, sir.
Perfect. Hey guys, if you don't know me, my name is Taylor Kehoe and I'm a senior, obviously. I play golf here at St. Mary's. Growing up, my parents put me and my two younger siblings in pretty much every sport possible. They wanted us to have a well-rounded athletic background, so I played soccer, I did dance, I figure skated, I ran track and cross country, and I played volleyball, basketball, and tennis. They had put me in a golf camp that was about 3 days long when I was really little, and I absolutely hated it. My younger sister and brother loved golf from the very beginning, and I truly could not figure out why. I thought that it was so boring and it was a waste of time. I had zero interest in it, and even though both my siblings played and a few cousins played, I just wanted nothing to do with it at all. By the time I got to middle school, I had it narrowed down to figure skating, basketball, volleyball, and tennis. When I finished my 8th grade year, my interest in volleyball was no longer there, but I didn't want to not play a fall sport because I always had. The summer before my freshman year of high school, I had a big decision to make. Was I going to play volleyball or not? And if I wasn't, what was I going to replace it with? About 2 weeks before high school started, I went to watch my sister Hunter play in her final summer golf tournament. After all my years of detesting golf, there I was watching my little sister play. I saw how much fun she was having with her friends and how much she liked it, and right then I decided I was done with volleyball and I was going to go out on a limb and try out for the golf team. Honestly, it was one of the most random decisions of my life. My parents were ecstatic. They had been trying to convince me to play golf forever, and I finally wanted to play. Since I decided so late in the summer, I had a week before tryouts. I had no clubs, I had never played before more than a couple holes, and I ended up borrowing my aunt's clubs, but I was still really unprepared for tryouts. I'll never forget how nervous I was for the first day of tryouts. I had never met the coach, and I did not know anyone on the team. It was the first time I was ever going into a tryout without having any friends with me. I remember my mom dropping me off, and I did not want to get out of the car. I think she was really nervous for me, but she encouraged me to go, and she said, "You have nothing to lose, so just go for it." Thank God that the tryouts had no cuts and they were just to place girls on JV and varsity, because there's absolutely no way I would have made it if there had been cuts. The first tournament my freshman year was the first 18 holes I'd ever played. I had no idea what I was doing, and I also didn't know how long golf actually took until I played my first tournament. For those that don't know, a typical time frame for an 18-hole round is about 4.5 hours. My first tournament was at least 6 hours long. When you factor in the fact that it's JV high school golf, and on top of the fact that I'd never played before and had no idea what I was doing, it's safe to say that it was one of the longest days of my life. The only good thing was that since I was clueless when it came to the rules of golf and what a good score looked like, I had no expectations for myself. I just went out with the goal of trying to complete the round. I finished and carded a 153, really solid. The par for the course course was a 71, equating to me shooting 82 strokes over par. This was an absolutely horrible score, but I had no idea. So when my fellow JV freshman teammate, who had also never played before, came in with a 210, I thought I was chilling. But then I saw varsity scores, and they were shooting about half of what my score was. Even though that tournament had taken so long and I had shot horrible, I had still loved it. As the season went on, my love for the sport grew even more. I finished out the rest of my freshman season and got better as it went on. I was still not as good by any means, but I had seen improvement and I'd fallen in love with the game. My coach was amazing. She was so much fun and taught me a lot about the basics of golf and how to play. I went from not knowing any of the girls on the team to becoming best friends with all of them. They became like a second family to me and are a huge reason why I fell in love with golf and stuck with it from the beginning. Everything about it was so different than any other sport I'd done before. It was very cut and dry. You can't argue with numbers. You played where you played based off of your performance. There was no team politics about who sits the bench and who plays more like there had been in all the other sports I'd done previously. But there was also a competitiveness that was unlike anything I'd experienced before. I decided that when my freshman season ended, I was going to dedicate my entire summer to golf. My goal was to actually get my own clubs, get some lessons, and spend the whole summer playing and practicing golf so I could have a shot at playing on varsity my sophomore year. My mom and dad had heard about a golf school called Junior Elite and thought it might be the perfect fit for the next step in my golf career. I remember having to try out for the program, and at this point I was still borrowing my aunt's old clubs and I was still not great, but the two pros running the program took a leap of faith and accepted me anyways. From that point on, everything changed. Every student in the program was extremely talented and had high goals to achieve when it came to golf. All of them wanted to play in college, and many of them even wanted to try and go pro. The pros who ran the program were amazing. Their vast knowledge of golf, nutrition, sports psychology, and course management gave me the tools I needed to succeed on and off the golf course. The training I received from Junior Elite changed my path and had a profound impact on my life. I was pushed and challenged in ways I'd never been before. That summer, I really did do nothing but golf. During the week, I'd play in local tournaments and state tournaments, and on the weekends, Friday through Sunday, would be Junior Elite time. The intensity, as well as the top-notch instruction, gave me the tools to start to really become good at golf. Since I had started so late, Junior Elite was exactly what I needed to catch up. This program and the people in the program are a large part of why I'm a college athlete today. Their motivation and talent introduced me to a whole new level of competitiveness that I'd never seen before. At this point, I started considering my ability to play college golf. From then on, golf was a different game for me. I started my sophomore year off as the number 1 and 2 player on varsity. I qualified for states as an individual that year, and then went on to help my team qualify for states my junior and senior year. I played in 4 consecutive Michigan Women's Opens, as well as a national tournament in high school. My junior year was the first year that I got the chance to play with my sister, and that was a game changer. Being able to spend my last 2 years in high school with her and share all of that with her was amazing. Playing with your sister is the ultimate competitive experience, and in high school we really learned to lean on each other and push each other to get better. Having an opportunity to be on the same team as your sister is one of the best experiences you can ever have. Even though we can sometimes fight, like the McDonald's incident my senior year, the verdict is still out on that one, we always have each other's backs and are each other's biggest cheerleaders. When I started looking at colleges, I knew I wanted to play golf. I had come a really long way from the start of my freshman year, being completely oblivious about it. I started the recruiting process and St. Mary's came up. As soon as I visited, I fell in love and knew right away that this is the place I wanted to be. I knew that at St. Mary's, I was able to golf and continue my athletic career, but I was also able to grow as a student and as a young woman. I would be challenged on the course and off, but would constantly be surrounded by one of the most supportive communities I've ever been a part of. When it came time for my sister to decide where she wanted to go to college, you can bet that I was pushing St. Mary's hard. Honestly, I think everyone in my family was, but she needed to make her own choice. On Christmas of her senior year, she finally told us that she wanted to go to St. Mary's, and I'd never been happier. I had felt so lucky to have the opportunity to play with her in high school, and now we were going to be teammates again, but in college. Through our 4 years of playing together, we have accomplished so much, from attending state finals, winning tournaments, and attending a collegiate national championship. There is no one I would rather have by my side through it all. I would not be here today if it weren't for Hunter. She is the whole reason why I started playing golf, and I can't imagine my life without it, so she is the reason why I play. But there is no way that we could have accomplished all the things we have if it weren't for our huge support system. If Hunter and I don't push each other enough competitively, you can bet that our little brother is right there to pick up the slack. I've been so fortunate with an amazing support system, and they're also the reason why I play. I also play for my team. From my freshman year at St. Mary's to now, I've been blessed with some of the best teammates, role models, and coaches. It is such a special opportunity to be an athlete and have a team that is like a family. It is really telling to me that one athletic program like St. Mary's can foster friendships that outlast anything. I know this because I've seen it from my own personal experiences. When you have alumni come back during a freezing cold day just to watch you qualify for nationals, or you have a graduated Bells golfers' parents make the trip all the way to Florida to watch you compete in a national tournament, that tells you that there's no better support system. So even though I'm not ready to leave you guys, and I have no idea what I'm going to do without you, I know that because we are Bells, we are always going to be there for each other. Having such a strong support system like that makes me feel even more prepared for what the future holds. Thank you guys for everything.
Jeez, I'm gonna fall on this. A little bit. That's a bit. Okay. Careless Whisper plays in the distance. Like right here? Mm-hmm. Sweet. I'll just set that okay. He's got a binder. Okay. Okay. Hey guys, my name is Sarah and I'm a senior on the cross country team. I study political science and history, and I'm excited to share why I run/play with you guys tonight. Why I run. So I have been running for about 12 years, and I've been a collegiate athlete for 3.5 years. I got into athletics when I was pretty young. I know, he used to be so cute. So I started with soccer and football. I would play football with my cousins and my family and some of the neighborhood kids, and my twin Megan and I played soccer for several years in little leagues right there. Oh man. No, I was all right at soccer. I was pretty good, but I used to joke that the only reason why I was any good was because I could run everywhere. Realistically, I had terrible aim. I always failed. I had terrible aim. I always failed, like trying to pass or trying to lead, but my coach was keeping me on the team because I could run everywhere. So I went from a striker, where aim is really important, to a midfielder where I just chase the ball. Sometimes I'd go back, sometimes I'd go forward. And it was really fun, but you know, I just wanted to run. So when I was younger, I also suffered a pretty terrible accident. This is gonna get a little heavy, guys, but it'll get better, I promise. Now, I had a pretty traumatic accident which resulted in an emergency surgery, and it actually happened when I was running at summer camp. So some boy was telling me that he was faster than me, and I did not respond well to that. And so I told him, like, nah, you're not faster than me. And he said, okay, well, let's race. And so I raced him, and I ran into a picnic table because I was not paying attention, and I just completely like ruptured my spleen. I know, pretty bad. It's okay. We'll get there. It's okay. But I used to be very small and skinny and like short, and I didn't, no one really saw what happened, but I did win the race. I beat him. So again, we're good. But since no one saw what happened, I went to the office because I wasn't feeling very well. And at that point I was pretty pale, and there was no accurate like description of, anyone that saw anything. So they called my mom, and my mom's in the audience right there, and Mom came and picked me up from summer camp and put me in the car. And I was not like talking, I was very pale, and sometimes I joke like the reason she knew something was wrong was because I was not talking, because I talk all the time. But no, Mom knew something was up, so she called my dad and took me to the hospital, and the doctors for a long time could not figure out what was wrong with me. I was bleeding internally pretty heavily, and it was kind of like 24 hours, 30, no, it was a lot of like chaos for a time. And so I was bleeding out, and then they finally were like, well, clearly this kid's gonna die if we don't open her up. So I was rushed to emergency surgery, and they took out my spleen, fixed everything up, and I made it out. So my twin sister, I know some of the upperclassmen know her, Megan, has a savage sense of humor. She is right there. She looks like me, and I have the head. Yeah. Sometimes your identical twin looks like you. But she was, pretty distressed at the same time because, I didn't look like myself. I was hooked up to all these machines, and it was unclear whether or not I would make it through the accident. So she and some of my aunts also in the audience right there, they went to Toys R Us, and I love dogs, so Megan bought the biggest dog possible. It's a stuffed animal, and she brought it to the hospital along with two smaller dogs, and she had named the large dog Spleen. And she gave Spleen to me and said, now you have a spleen. And she named the two smaller dogs Kidneys, and she said, now you have extra kidneys if anything happens to those. So the message I got from that was, I'm set for life, organ donations, don't need them. But yeah, I suffered some PTSD and some separation anxiety and all that stuff from the surgery because it was a fairly traumatic thing. So I went to therapy for a while, which really helped. But I had always liked running, and I had always liked being athletic, but I had some hesitations going back into sports and leaving my mom because of that incident, and it happened when I was running, so I was like, nah, let's not. But I had a really great supportive family both at home and at school on my teams. And I was like, well, clearly I should keep running. And my parents, mom and dad, and my sisters and my family supported me quite heavily in that. Yeah, that's Megan. She's gonna be really happy about that later. But no, so my family and my coaches knew that I wanted to get back into athletics, and they said, have you heard about this thing called cross country? All you do is run. You don't have a ball, you don't have to tackle anyone, you just run. And I was like, well, that sounds like it, it's for me. So I joined cross country and track in the 5th grade. And I really liked the sport because it could be an individual sport as well as a team sport. And that appealed to me because soccer was a big team sport. Football and softball were team sports. But I just really, I liked to run, and I wanted to join, the dichotomy of the individual and team sport was interesting to me. So I wasn't really awesome at running until the later years of 6th, 7th, and 8th grade when I got smart, and they told me about this thing called race strategy, which sometimes I'm still not great at, but that says a lot. And the team bonding in all the high school and middle school races, mutual suffering bonds you together like nobody's business. So yeah, I went through, and believe it or not, I did graduate the 8th grade and made it to high school. Yeah. So when I was in high school, I was pretty good at cross country. We made it to state, and it was a good time. But I really excelled in track. Individually, I was ranked 5th and 3rd, respectively, in my upperclassmen years. I was the 5th and 3rd fastest 400 runner in Illinois, and though my high school was small, we had about 400 kids in the whole school, we were pretty competitive in cross country and track. Illinois is a fast state with a lot of quick kids around Chicago, but the competitive aspect of the school really helped the team kind of vibe very well. So senior year, I was ranked pretty high in the state, and I was hit with a bout of bronchitis. So I was Phoebe in this meme on the starting line, coughing my lungs out. And the starter came over, he's like, "Girl, you don't have to do this." And I said, I do, I'm a senior. And he's like, "Girl, you have to do this, like, get it together." And I was like, I respect and appreciate that. So I ran. I didn't do that well, but the team, who I had run with for years, and I had hung out with everyone on the team because I did sprints, middle distance, and distance. The team really helped me through that. I was very disappointed in my performance. But I liked the small size of the team, and I liked knowing them because it reminded me of my family. So, that was a shot to the confidence, but they helped me through it. And then the small size of those teams really helped me when I started looking for colleges, and I made it to St. Mary's. I originally did not really want to go to St. Mary's for college, and I'll tell you why. It's because Mom and my aunt and their sister, my other aunt, and my great-grandma all went to St. Mary's. My dad went to Notre Dame. So I was hit with that real early on in my life. And I knew it was a good school, but I kind of was like, oh, I want to make my own way. And I didn't really realize, because I was silly, that I could make my own way at St. Mary's. So I was, going to run track at Dayton, University of Dayton, and I had applied and got in, and I had some emails with coaches, but I kind of didn't really like the vibe of, D1, and granted, Dayton was a small D1, but I wanted to go to school for school and not school for athletics. So I visited St. Mary's and got hooked, and it reminded me of the family feel that I had in high school and on all my sports teams. So yeah, I had that family feel, plenty of room to grow, plenty of, space to make my own way. And I was really grateful because throughout the years at St. Mary's, there were some bumps. Last year, I suffered an injury to my left ankle and foot, and it traveled all the way up my leg to my back. It was a spicy disaster, guys. It was bad. But I was not able to run the competitive season, and I was pretty upset. I don't like not running, but my cross-country team and my coaches and the whole athletic department was really there for me, and I was able to run the non-traditional season in the spring. And I don't think I would have gotten through that if I had gone to any other place besides St. Mary's, because everyone was so supportive and so nice and so helpful that I felt like I came out of that experience a stronger athlete and a stronger student because I got to work on some school stuff, and overall a stronger person. So I don't think I would have gotten that anywhere but St. Mary's. and I thank you all for being an excellent support system and helping me become a better person. So thank you. That's a good picture. Didn't bomb, so that's good. You want that? You sure? I like the memes. The memes? I like the memes.
I don't have any memes. Oh wait, do you want me to do this? Okay.
I'll just set that.
Okay, sweet. Whoops. I don't trip over it. Hi everyone, my name is Adele Edmonds and I am a senior on the cross country team. I do not have any memes, but thank you Sarah and Taylor for presenting as well. On April 19th, 1995, devastation struck my hometown of Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Timothy McVeigh pulled up in front of the Oklahoma Federal Building with a truck containing an explosive that killed 164 people. A place and state that people had previously considered somewhat irrelevant was suddenly the face of destruction and suffering. Unfortunately, this is a scene we are far too familiar with nowadays, but at the time, this was the largest domestic terrorist attack on U.S. soil. Although many of us in this room were not alive during this tragedy, including myself, for those that were, this was a moment in history where you remember where you were and remember the immense emptiness it leaves you with. Each year, thousands of people come together at the bombing memorial, where the federal building once stood. After 164 seconds of silence, marathoners, half marathoners, family relays, and spectators begin the Oklahoma City Memorial Marathon. For as long as I can remember, this is something I look forward to each April. My earliest memory of the marathon was in first grade. My grandmother was racing. She passed my house at mile 25. It was there that she grabbed me, I hopped in and finished the race with her. I thought this was the coolest thing and was way too excited to be running considering how old I was. Every year after that, I have participated in some way, whether it's the year my family won the relay, my first half marathon, or cheering on my friends and family embarking on their first race. My love and passion of running had started to form in me. Cross country is not the typical sport for elementary students. For a long time, I would just run in road races with my family and each spring enter the Catholic grade school track meet. Instead, I played competitive soccer for almost 10 years. Although running complemented my soccer well, and I was pretty much the only one that actually looked forward to the running portion of practice. After freshman year of high school, I decided that I had to give something up. So ultimately, I decided to focus on cross country. I was probably much better at soccer at the time, but I had completely fallen in love with cross country and specifically the culture of my high school team. I was on a team of almost 100 girls, one of them being Gabby Russell, who's now a freshman on our team. Beginning the first week of June, we would meet at 6:30 in the morning to run. We always dreaded when August 1st came around because that meant practice was now going to be at 6 a.m. Despite the painfully early mornings, cross country was by far the highlight of my high school experience. I met the most amazing group of friends and became passionate about cross country being something for everyone, regardless of your athletic ability and talent. I remember my coach actually telling me that I had to stop recruiting girls to the team because he was no longer able to keep track of everyone. Even more than the social aspect, I loved competing. There was something so inspiring to me about giving everything in me, and even more inspiring about cheering on my teammates to do the same, many of whom had come to love running but previously had not considered themselves athletes at all. Whether you were the first or last girl to cross the finish line on my team, you were constantly swarmed with teammates, fans, and the boys' team cheering you on. I had found a why. I ran because I loved being a part of something where everyone gave every ounce of themselves, regardless of their athletic ability. My junior and senior year, I was lucky enough to run with my younger sister, Charlotte, who she was in the last slide. Although there she is, next to me. Although we were sometimes a little bit too competitive, it was such a special experience. We ran side by side like we always had growing up. My parents, grandparents, siblings, and friends ran almost as much as we did as they ran around, cheering us on race after race. I was able to share many great moments and races with Charlotte, including winning our track state championship our final year of running together. My why had developed even more. I ran because it was something that I shared with my little sister. I couldn't give up running altogether, and I couldn't give up cross country. St. Mary's seemed like the perfect fit for many reasons, one of them being able to continue something that I loved so much. My first few months of college were a little bit rough. I missed home a crazy amount, and having cross country made my new home feel a little bit less unfamiliar. Over my last 4 years of running at St. Mary's, my why has taken many different forms, but mainly my why has become my way to give back to a part of something that's much larger than myself. When I think of the French Cross, I think of the many intelligent, kind, and down-to-earth women that make up St. Mary's. I know my cross-country meets don't make national television, but there is truly nothing I love more than representing the French Cross and representing this amazing place while doing something that means so much to me. This past summer, I had a special experience of wearing the French Cross on the other side of the world. I spent 6 weeks in rural Uganda working at a clinic through the nursing department. Each day I ran home followed by a pack of school children. Despite speaking different languages other than their broken English and my pathetic attempt at the local dialect, and growing up in completely different conditions, running brought us together. A specific group of kids really stuck out with me. Every day I passed a group of sisters doing farm work and dishes. After a few days of greeting each other, they dropped their chores and began running with me. This is the group of girls. Uganda gave me a new why. I run because it brings people together regardless of our differences. Day in and day out, it's easy to forget my why. Sometimes playing a sport means missing out on a trip with friends or sacrificing some sleep to get homework done after a long practice. Sometimes cross country means cranking out a workout when you're just really not feeling it. But the girls that make up St. Mary's Cross Country keep me running regardless of the circumstances. I love them like they're my sisters. Specifically this team. We are from roughly 10 different states and are all different ages. We run different times and we make up different friend groups. But every day they give me a reason to show up to practice, smiling and looking forward to the 2 hours that I get with them. I quickly forget about the chaos or exhaustion I was feeling prior. I love seeing them break personal records, push through killer workouts, and power through a long run with great conversation. Ultimately, though, running makes me a better person. When I was younger, it taught me to love my city and the importance of sharing something with my family, specifically my dad, Charlotte, and my grandmother. In high school, it introduced me to a group of girls so different than myself, but it taught me what it meant to be a teammate and to be supportive no matter their time or place. In college, I learned that I run because it makes me better. It takes me outside of myself and gave me a group of girls that push me day in and day out. And in Uganda, it showed me that no matter where I go, running is the gift that I will take with me. As I finish my final year of competing, I'm so happy that I have a passion that I can do no matter where I am. I will miss being a part of the team dearly, and I will definitely miss my fellow Bells. I know running will always be a part of me because the experience I have had as a Division III athlete. I'm not burnt out of running, and I know it's not something that I am giving up anytime soon. And I have no doubt that I will continue to find new whys. As Division III athletes, we have a really special opportunity to do our sport just because we love it. Something for ourselves, but also something for each other. And I'm so thankful that St. Mary's Cross Country has taught me that. That wasn't graceful. There you go. One more time. Sorry, Sarah. Thank you.
Sarah, do you have a camera or picture? Oh, okay. Alrighty, guys. I would love to invite our three speakers back on the stage. Big step. Your final test. Thank you very, very much.
Are we hurdlers?
Yes. So you guys, it is not easy to get up in front of your peers and talk about your journey or just talking in front of a group like this, and you guys just did a beautiful job. I'm so proud of all of you. All the stories were so different and inspiring and funny and honest and awesome. So thank you so much. We have a little gift for you all. I don't know how far I can go with this. You got. I'm corded. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you. You can do whatever you want. So you guys, let's give them one more round of applause.